that's coming on. Fantastic. So it's brilliant to have Amy here. Now, Amy left in, I've got to get this right now, left in 2020.
Yeah.
Okay. And is currently studying medicine at the University of Exeter. So I've asked Amy to talk a little bit about her journey and why she chose medicine and what she did to prepare for medicine, and, you know, why medicine over other subjects, and, you know, what it's like to study medicine at Exeter and the admission tests and the interviews. And if you've got any questions, please put them in the chat, and we'll ask Amy at the end as well. And I'll monitor the chat, Amy, and I'll also switch my microphone off in a second, so that you don't get any echo when you're speaking. Okay. Right, so I'm going to hand over to Amy now.
Okay, so Dr. Rowe very nicely introduced me. So I'm Amy. I'm a second year medical student at University of Exeter. So yeah, I want you to, if you want to turn on your mics, I know Teams isn't the nicest, but if you want to turn on your mics and ask any questions, please do, because I just want, like, I don't know what you need to know, and I don't want to know what you want to know, really, but I'll just talk a bit about my experience. So today I'm going to talk about why I chose medicine, like why some of my friends did, some about work experience, personal statement, thinking about where to apply, and also a bit about those entrance exams. So a bit about me. So as I said, I'm a second year med student at University of Exeter, and I chose medicine because I do generally adore working with people. I know everyone says that, but it's something that I really love. And I really am just so excited about the fact that I'm going into a career where I get to spend the rest of my life learning and like impacting on the lives of others. And a big part of medicine, as you realise quite soon, is that you've got to be a teacher. So a lot of my tutors are doctors, which is another reason why I love Exeter. A lot of our clinical skills tutors are nurses, doctors, and you just get that hands-on experience straight away. And I used to love gymnastics coaching, and the medical profession is all about sharing your knowledge and learning with others. And I just thought that was something that I found fun, and that it was something that would engage me in this career, because it is a hard career in the end. And honestly, so I get to go on placement quite a lot as well, even in year 1, year 2. And the highlight of one of my placements was just chatting to an old man. He was having his leg soaked, and he had like really bad like peripheral neuropathy. So like he had really bad nerve damage in his leg. So you couldn't feel that he had like really bad gangrene. I know that sounds really gross, but he was just really sweet, and he was like quizzing me about all his anatomy of, you know, where the lesions were in his leg. And it was just like, just chatting to him and just getting to see him smile and come in was a really nice part of like going on placement and learning from placement. So yeah, so some of my friends, why they chose medicine, we all said that the bog standard answer is, I chose medicine because I love science and I love people, put them together, medicine. And to be fair, that's not a bad reason to want to do medicine, but I think to stay motivated, you've got to have a few more reasons than that. And also you want to stand out in your interviews. And that's where work experience will come in really handy. So my friend Luca said that he wanted something where he felt he was always learning and challenging himself and helping people. Sophie's mum had breast cancer, and she said to me that the impact the doctors had on her and her family made her think that she wants to go into a career where she can like use her knowledge and these challenges to like impact on others. My friend James had open heart surgery, and he was like, the surgery was so cool that I wanted to be like him. And then from that, it stemmed from there. Jazz said that she didn't have a soppy reason, which did make me laugh. But she loves the idea of a challenge, and on her work experience, she was in awe. Ryan, I met Amy Shefferd on MWOP. If Dr. Rowe hasn't spoken to you about MWOP, I don't know if it's a thing anymore, but I'm sure he's probably told you about MWOP. I loved MWOP, it was so good. But his sister had learning difficulties as well, and he cared for her, and it's something that he spoke about as well. So yeah, as I said, this is where
I'm just going to mention, sorry to interrupt, I'm going to mention what MWOP is. So everyone, if you're in year 12, MWOP is the Medical Work Observation Programme, right? And it's the Cardiff and the Vale Health Board have their own medical work experience, yeah? Now, last year and the year before, it didn't take place. It only took place virtually, okay?
No,
So yeah, so we're hoping that it will take place this time. They haven't made any decision on that yet,
Yeah.
but I know a few people have already started contacting them. And you can find this on, you can go on their website. If you just put MWOP into Google, you'll find it. And then obviously you get the latest information. But schools haven't had any information on whether it's going to take place in person at the moment. But what I would say is take the opportunity of doing it virtual if it's not face-to-face. But if it is face-to-face, definitely apply because it's brilliant.
Yeah. And I'm just moving on to work experience now, so that's quite good. So do things you enjoy. So MWOP, that was honestly the coolest week ever. I got to watch someone have their appendix taken out, which is something I've not had to been able to do yet, even in med school. So that was really cool. Yeah, I just saw loads of things, and it really helped with my personal statement and just getting a bit of experience, because I think it is so important to have at least a little bit of experience. And like Dr. Bro said, I know you're in a really bad situation with COVID, like getting experience must have been really hard. I mean, I got my vaccinations early because of placement, but obviously you don't get that. But yeah, so you just got to do things that you really enjoy, and it's got to be something that you learn from. So don't sit on a placement or an online like thing and just sit, yeah, I'm doing it and I can put this in my personal statement. You've really got to try and like think, what have I learned from this? So like with my gymnastics coaching, that's so easy to put in your personal statement, but actually going, well, I do gymnastics coaching, but what am I getting from this? Like, what is it that sitting with this child who's really nervous is helping me and is going to make me a better doctor in the future? I was also a waitress. So again, that's chatting with people, working in a team, and yeah, reflecting on your own personal experiences. So I reflected on my own experience with healthcare as well, which I think is, if you can make it a bit personal, I think that's quite nice. It shows you a person and not just really good in school, because I'm sure you're all amazing. But yeah, it's what you can learn and make it of these experiences that makes you stand out. So if you're panicking that you can't get work experience or you weren't accepted onto MWOP, it's not the end of the world, because as long as you're motivated and you enjoy doing some sort of peoply and teamy work experience, then you're halfway there. Even playing team sport, ask the coach. If you're a hockey player, just ask the coach of a young hockey team. So yeah, it also prepares you for med school, because after every placement we have to do a little write-up and say what we've learned about it. And yeah, so things like communication skills are actually more important than you think.
Amy, just on some in there. So obviously there's some good volunteering things you can do that are fantastic. Also, something that people don't realise how good something like St. John's Ambulance is.
Oh, they love that first aid.
That would be really. We've had, we had a student last year, Mia, who did that, and had tremendous amount. And we had we talked with uni admission tutors about the fact about work experience, and because it was limited, the fact that you've done St. John's Ambulance, you get lots of experience in that. So that's something to consider as well if you haven't been involved in St. John's, because you'll get lots and lots of different sorts of experiences with that as well.
Oh yeah, I did St. John's as well, like a few workshops, and that was it's just fun just to get hands on, because that's what you're going to be doing in med school really. So yeah, and you got to make sure you enjoy it first. So UCAT and BMAT. I only sat the UCAT. As much as Dr. O wanted me to sit the BMAT, I did not want to. And I sat because I knew where I wanted to apply. I knew that I wanted to be with patients from the start. I didn't want to do 3 years of a science course. And if you want to do 3 years of a science course, then that's fine as well, because you come out as a doctor in the end anyway. I just love the way I'm learning at the moment. I've been in clinical skills all day and I've had the best day ever. So yeah, so I applied for unis that only used UCAT, and in terms of prep, I literally just practiced loads. And don't pay for expensive courses. I didn't pay for anything. I think I got a book for Christmas from my nan, but I don't think I opened it. You might surprise yourself, but if it doesn't go to plan, I promise it isn't the end of the world. Different uni, I don't know at the moment what admissions are looking like with COVID. They might, I probably should have looked into that, sorry. But
I think it's getting better, Amy. I think it's getting better. I want to just pick up what you said, like some of the unis that use BMAT are universities, obviously, like like Oxbridge and stuff like that.
I'm not biased to Exeter, I promise.
Yeah. But Amy makes a good point there, because if you do a medical degree, you've got to do your research, and you've got to decide what you actually want to do. Because if you do go to certain unis, you won't have any contact with a patient till like year 4 or something like that, you know, or certainly year 3. Whereas other universities like Cardiff and Exeter, you are getting to know patients and you're getting hospital placements from the start, right? And that's why some of our top students who are, you know, such as Amy, who are more than capable of, you know, getting into Oxford and Cambridge and stuff like that, that's why sometimes they choose not to apply to places like that, right, for medicine, for specifically that course. But we do have students that want to do that and want to say, actually, I quite like the other side of it. I want to study and get my science knowledge. You know, I want to do 3 years or whatever, and then move on to patients later. You've got to work out what's right for you, and that's why it's about doing your research about what the different courses offer. That's why it's really important.
I find applying my learning is the best way to learn. So we've just finished studying about metabolism and diabetes, and I got to see a patient that actually had diabetes, and I learned so much by chatting to them and learning about how their diabetes affects their life and how they use their insulin, how they have to monitor their glucose a bit more if they're doing exercise and all stuff like that. And also, I literally took blood from a patient last week, and it's just like, it just keeps me motivated. I don't know, because it can be a bit hard sometimes. Okay, so yeah, that leads us very on to why what med school, obviously Exeter. But think about where you want to live. So do you want to stay at home? I didn't, but I knew I wanted to move away, and Exeter was the perfect distance. And you've got to think, your course is long. It's going to be 5 or 6 years. I want to intercalate. I'm probably going to be here for 6 years. So you've got to live where you're going to be happy. And yeah, if you want to be 6 hours away from home, or if you want to go to Scotland, and you know, you've got so many options. But yeah, just be happy, I think, and make sure the course fits you, like Dr. Rose said. Make sure you really think about how you learn best. But and to be honest, you don't know until you start, which is quite annoying. But if you think that you want that base of science, then science-based courses are just going to be, it's going to be just as good no matter where you go, basically. It's medicine at the end of the day. Also for me, as I said, I wanted early patient contact, but for some people, they want the science first, and that's totally okay. I just love the course structure. I can talk a bit more about what I do day to day if people are interested. And also Cardiff is pretty similar as well. And that's another reason why I did apply at Cardiff. Also think about extracurricular activities, because you do have to have fun. So I'm on placement at the moment. I'm living in Cornwall for the next 2 years. And I go to the beach all the time. And it's just, look at the uni and see, like, if you're a really good hockey player, make sure there's a good hockey team you can join. Or like, if you're really good at swimming, different unis might be better for different sports. So yeah, that's another thing to think about. So interview tips. Just be yourself. I think just go in. No, obviously have like good preparation for questions that will come up. So like the 4 pillars of medical ethics is quite important. Can't lie, they've never asked us about that in med school, but they like it in interviews, I think. And keep updated with current news. And lots of my friends are like, yeah, they'll ask about COVID, and they probably will, but also find something different in the news that you're interested in, because that'll just make you stand out a bit more, because everyone's going to go in thinking, oh, they want us to talk about COVID. But actually, it's, find something you're interested in. Apparently, I actually learned today that they were being overwhelmed by new diagnoses of type 2 diabetes just because of lockdown, just because of the stress of not exercising and stress eating has just caused a massive influx, and that's overwhelming the healthcare system at the moment, diabetes. So yeah, that's something to look into if you're interested. Really.
Amy, just to mention there, something that year 11s and year 12s can do is this. Cardiff University. Oh, hang on. Sorry, I'm going to mute this. Sorry.
Oh, is this are you going to talk about the science and public health lectures? I went to all of those. So I think Dr. Rose is going to talk about the science and public health lectures, which are really interesting. At Cardiff Uni, you can go in and I think he'll explain.
Sorry, that was really funny, because it's playing a random Siri is starting to play music, which is just like I was talking there. So what I was going to say was science in health is really good, but Cardiff Uni, Amy may not be aware of this. Cardiff Uni have a widening access to medicine scheme, which they have the 4th year and the 5th year medics. Okay, and what they do is they put together lots of resources for students. So they have something called the WAMS page, which is WAAMS, right? And you can find this on Twitter. We offer, if you go on the Radyr Sixth Form Twitter site, we're always retweeting them, right? And they have made little they've got sort of documents, JPEGs you can download on all the different sorts of topics. So, for example, it will have big issues affecting the NHS, core values, yeah, individual topics, work experience. So you could use that as your revision notes, right? And that would save hours and hours of time in terms of researching key things, because it would give you lots of links and everything. So they've done an incredible job because they haven't been able to do as many visits. So check out that site, it's brilliant. And what Amy said about science in health, just so you know, Cardiff Uni offers science in health lectures. These are a series of, they're doing virtual at the moment, but I'm sure they'll be face to face soon. And they have world experts coming in and doing talks that you could develop your knowledge of different things. So they're really good. And Amy, you did those, didn't you?
Yeah, and to be honest, half the time I didn't really know what they were talking about, but I think it was just the whole just going and getting a bit of experience. And if I found something interesting, and made me look into it later if I had time. But obviously, no, you're all quite busy with exams and stuff. So yeah. And I know why they do that now with Cardiff Uni. It makes sense. A part of the GMC, you have to do like a doctors as teachers thing. So they might, that's probably as they're doing it, like, yeah, again, going back to the teaching. So yeah, 4 pillars of medical ethics, current news, really think about why. Know the course well. So I know we were all saying last night, we actually all got asked in our extra interviews and also my Cardiff interview, why medicine at Cardiff? And the girls saying they all started talking about their why medicine answer, and they're like, no, we know why you want to do medicine. We want to know why this uni, or why Liverpool, why Cardiff, why Southampton. So yeah, know the course, like, and you're only applying to 4 unis, and if you're lucky, you might get all your interviews, or you might get 1 or 2. So it's quite easy to know about the course, I think. Yeah, make sure you've reflected on your experiences and skills. So don't just say, I'm amazing at teamwork because I play hockey. Like, great. Everyone says that. Say, like, what have you learned from playing in a team? Like, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? They love the multidisciplinary team. Like most of my clinical skills tutors are nurses, because they are the ones that are seeing the patients all the time. They're the ones that are putting the cannulas in. They're the ones that are doing the venous blood, like they're the ones that are being face to face with patients, and you've got to have a good ability to work with them. So what have you learned? How do you work in a team? And know your weaknesses too. And don't be scared of your failures. And what I will say is, I'm sure you're all incredible students, but working too hard isn't a failure. There's got to be something that you've had to overcome. Just have a think, because that is quite a common question in an interview. I think I got asked about overcoming weaknesses, and I think a couple of the girls did too. So yeah, and also think about extracurricular activities. Like, they'll want to know a bit about your life. It's not just school and medicine. Think about what you enjoy, what you do outside of school, and that'll make you stand out. And finally, I love my course. I'm really passionate about medicine. Honestly, if you have any questions, I'm sure Dr. Ray will give you my email. Please feel free to email me. I'm happy to answer anything. So last week I told you about the sweet old man I met with a leg ulcer. But yeah, it's things like that. It can be hard, but you've got to get a good balance, and you'll really enjoy it. That's why you need to really think about why you're applying for medicine, because if you don't have good motivation, or you don't enjoy working with people and colleagues, then medicine probably isn't for you. You won't be happy. So yeah, please feel free to ask. This is the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, just turn your mic on and ask, or like Dr. Ray said, put it in the chat.
That'd be brilliant. Thanks, Amy. So if anyone's got any questions, please put them in the chat. So Amy, where you said you applied to Cardiff, didn't you? And you applied to Exeter. Where else did you apply for?
Liverpool and Southampton.
Right. Okay. So those are the 4. And were those similar sorts of courses? Were they all were these problem-based courses?
Yeah. Oh, if you want me to talk about PBL, I'm quite happy to talk about PBL.
Yeah, that would be good, Amy, just so they know, because some of our year 11s and 12s, they might not know much about it.
Easy, isn't it? Okay, so PBL is called problem-based learning, or in Cardiff, they like to sell their case-based learning. It's not a problem, but it's literally all the same. So basically, we have different study units. So like in year 1, we had like muscular, immune and lymphatics, and we go through systems. And so like in year 2, we're building on that. So as I've said earlier, I've just finished metabolism. So we've had our PBL cases for this block have been on type 1 and type 2 diabetes. So they were quite hefty. But in previous blocks, if I just have a goose at my notes, PBL. What was an interesting one? Like host defense, we had STIs, like rheumatoid arthritis. And then with that, we go through a case and we ask questions on it. So we had one case and it was Parkinson's disease, and it's just a synopsis. Like, a few years ago, I was diagnosed with Parkinson's. Despite this being, and like you start going through like, what's Parkinson's? What's going wrong? What drugs are first line? What side effects might these patients get? How might this affect their lives? And it's just like, it's basically just, yeah, learning together as a team. So there's 8 people in my PBL group, and we'll go through this case. At first, we'll know nothing. We'll be like, I don't know any of this, but we'll assign questions. And then we'll come back, we'll have lectures on it, and half of our questions are answered in our lectures. We'll have small, so we have lectures, and I also have like LSRC, which is Life Science Resource Centre. And that's when we'll have like our biomedical teaching and our anatomy teaching. And that's kind of like the core stuff that they test us on. And then the lectures is more like wider and consolidates everything. So yeah, it runs together really well, and you can see how the whole course fits together. And yeah, I just really like the fact that you get to apply your learning to a case and to patients, because it's all well and good learning about all the mechanisms of different drugs or the anatomy of something. But when you get to apply it to a case and answer questions that you've come up with as a team, I think that really helps it stick. So yeah. Doctor.
Sorry, I'm muted. I've done that. Right. So the other thing I was going to ask you was, you know what the places you applied for, were they all multi-mini interviews?
Yes, apart from Southampton was actually, I think it was my favourite interview after Exeter, actually, because you go in and they've read your personal statement. They've basically highlighted it all and written notes all over your personal statement, which is quite nice, because you can see that they actually did read it, and it's not just, you didn't just write it for no reason. And they ask you questions on your personal statement, and then you have to do what was it? It was almost like they gave us a group task, and they basically like watched you work in a group, and then you had to feedback at the end, which sounds really scary, but it's not. I actually really enjoyed the group task and thought it was a really good way of actually assessing you and actually seeing, yes, they say they're good at teamwork, but are they actually? And yeah.
Fab. And in terms of the other thing I was going to ask you, in terms of, lots of them are sort of thinking about in terms of what to do now if you're a year 12 student. So you can do some volunteering, that would help. You can obviously look to try and build your science knowledge up from reading articles and going to lectures like Science in Health and stuff like that. What about, your Welsh back? Because did you choose a Welsh back topic that was Health for Medicine?
Yeah, so from MWOP, I went on a renal. I spent an afternoon in like a renal clinic, which is your kidneys, and I was really interested in like transplants and like how they did renal transplants. So I did that in my my Welsh back. I did my what's it called? The individual project.
Yeah.
I did that on live versus deceased kidney transplants, and it was really interesting. And I did speak about that because I think they quite like the fact that I'd seen it on placement, found it interesting, and then went and thought, how can I learn more about this? So yeah, and that's what we do a lot of in med school as well. So it'd be good practice. But yeah, I kind of wanted to focus my Welsh back on that. And you could do it on anything. You could look, if you haven't been on placement, I'm sure you could do like a Welsh back on the rising prevalence in mental health conditions after COVID, or like the impact of COVID on type 2 diabetes, or that might be quite interesting.
Brilliant.
So
And
yeah.
that's a really good thing you can do. And we often get lots of people that sort of talk about that at interviews, not just for medicine, but for other things that are, you know, competitive courses like veterinary science, dentistry,
Yeah.
etc. in terms of that. So I'm
Welsh
looking at the
is
chat.
brilliant. Really, really good. As much as like everyone bangs on about Welsh back and you all hate it, it's actually really good. It does help.
And it teaches you obviously lots of skills that help you for uni in terms of,
So,
you know, your ability to carry out research, your referencing skills. You're able to look at articles to see if they're biased or, you know, or they're written with expert knowledge or they're current and up to date. And that's what you do a lot of at university, whatever course you do. You look at sources of information. So it's really good in terms of that.
we have essay blocks. So my next 3 weeks are going to be on an SSU, which is a self study unit, and I love them. They're really interesting. So my last SSU I did on HIV, and I wrote a paper on improving the health of pregnant women with HIV and how the experience of their pregnancy can be improved by allowing them more freedom of choice in healthcare. And it was brilliant. And I had some amazing placements. I met some lovely women with HIV. And yeah, it's just, learning how to research and being interested in something I think it's a good skill to show.
Fab. And what's a typical week in terms of hours, Amy? How many hours would you get a week in terms of contact time, say, and lectures?
Contact time. So I have 2 hours on a Monday, and that's PBL, and that's our problem-based learning. And then Tuesdays is we alternate. So one Tuesday I'll be on placement all day. Then because we do like 3 week study blocks. So the first week I'm on placement. The second week of the study block I've got professional development group, which is where you like talk about. We have different topics and we talk about like professionalism and confidentiality and safety and looking after yourself, all that stuff. Chronic diseases. If there's a chronic disease you're interested in, maybe have a look at that because they have massive impacts on people's lives. And then the third week I've got clinical skills on a Tuesday, which is what I've had all day today, which is why I'm also shattered. Wednesdays then is lectures. So we have 3 lectures on Wednesday. They're supposedly an hour each. They're not an hour each. They're always a bit longer. But yeah, supposedly an hour. Thursdays is 2 hours of biomed and then 2 hours of anatomy. And then Fridays is 2 hours of lectures. So yeah, they always run over though. So yeah, and then there's lots of like time outside of that for self-study. So you've got to get your PBL done. You've got to do your LSRC prep, placement write-ups. I do a lot of flashcards. So yeah, it's fun. I really enjoy it.
And Amy, in terms of your A levels, you did chemistry, you did biology. Was maths the other one?
Yeah.
And Welsh back, of course. But that's obviously a popular choice. You have to do chemistry, yeah. You have to. If you don't do chemistry, there are ways to become a doctor, but it's harder. You'd have to do like a preliminary year, wouldn't you? Yeah, so you'd have to do that. But most chemistry is compulsory. Biology, you can do medicine without biology, but you limit the number of places you can apply. So, for example, you could apply. I think you can do Oxford. You're okay if you don't do bio, but there's not many places. Edinburgh, I think you're okay if you don't do bio, but there's not many places that are okay. But
I would have regretted not doing biology. I think, as much as chemistry we don't really need to know much chemistry, but I think biology did really help, especially last year.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have to do chem, you have to do bio. Yeah, and then the other one, they do a range of subjects. So Amy does maths. We have students who do history. We have students who do geography. We have students who do all sorts of subjects. So the other one doesn't matter too much, okay? But they will prefer.
Something with PE. They don't like PE and biology because I really wanted to do PE.
Yeah, you sometimes find that with PE. They don't mind it as an AS, but it's because there's so much similar crossover in bio. Yeah, that's one of the reasons. So if you're going to do if you're in year 11, you pick PE, that's fine, but just don't carry it if you're going to do medicine, don't carry it through to A2 alongside biology because it's too similar in this in the fact that they just don't seem to give offers with that. We've had a student that did dentistry, that did PE, and they did get an offer for it, but they had fantastic grades, and it took a lot. At the second time round, they got an interview and an offer, but they were finding it hard because of it in terms of that. But generally, chemistry, biology, and then one other really you need to look at, and that could be maths, history, economics. Further maths is fine, but you've got to remember with further maths is that some medical schools will not accept the maths A level in 1 year. Okay, so you've got to be careful there. Not many, but some won't. So what people do is they don't sit the whole A level in 1 year. What they sometimes do is 3 out of the 4 modules. Okay, and therefore that allows them to use their maths in year 13. Okay, because remember, if you pick further maths, you do a whole A level in 1 year, and then you do the further maths in year 2. So people can get round it by sitting 3 out of the 4 exams. So you get an AS, and you've sat the course, but you sit your final module in year 13, and that gets round that situation in terms of that.
I think don't feel pressure to do the 4 AS levels as well. I didn't do 4 AS levels. If you're confident with your subjects, just stick with them and work at them, because then it gives you more time outside and also less exams.
I agree, and it's about finding the right 3 for you. So when sometimes people pick 4, and we do say to people in the current year 11s, if you're going into 12, one of the reasons to pick 4 is to
start and see how you're doing.
And then just drop one, because you want to find the right 3 for you, really, in terms of that.
Then you might enjoy doing 4, and if you enjoy it, just do it. But if you don't, then there's no point.
Did you do any MOOCs, or because at the moment lots of them are doing MOOCs and listen to podcasts and stuff like that? And why do we know? Was anything that you did? Because what about the books? Did you read those?
Yeah, I read This Is Going to Hurt. Everyone reads This Is Going to Hurt by Adam Kay. I'm sure if you've not read it, it's a really good book. I don't think I included it in my personal statement, but I think it's just nice to get a bit of background reading. I do really recommend War Doctor by David Knott. That's really interesting. It's such a good read, not just with medicine, it's also the wider impacts of war on civilians, and also the impact of the stress of working as well. It's just really exaggerated. It's a really good book if you're interested, but I didn't really do much reading. I just kind of used my experiences.
I realised you've had a long day, and you've come out straight to lectures to do this. We're really, really grateful, and I know it must be really tiring. So I'm just gonna, if no one's got any questions, they can, as I said, put them in the chat now. But if you haven't, and you can't think of any, and you think of any later, okay, you can just pass them on to me, and I'll pass them on to Amy for you, in terms of that. But thank you so much, Amy.
Oh, sorry, I know I could ramble on about medicine for days, so.
No, Amy, we really appreciate you giving up your time, and good luck.
Thank you, and good luck to everyone who applies. If you've got any questions, please email me.
And keep in touch with us. And I know we're going to be nagging you to come and do another talk next year, but thank you ever so much. And hopefully, Amy, we might end up being able to do it in person. That'd be really nice, wouldn't it?
I want to come back. I miss Radyr.
That'd be really good. That'd be good. But thank you everyone for coming today. Hope everyone has a fantastic evening, and look forward to seeing everyone tomorrow.
Yeah. Good luck.
Bye everyone. Everyone's saying thank you. Bye, Amy. That was brilliant. Thank you ever so much. There we go.
I think someone's